to the 26th edition of the Berkeley Video and Film Festival. We're really pleased to be screening this film, and I know you are too, obviously. It sold out about a week ago, and we'd love to have it again. There's at least another 50 people that want to see it. It's a very important film, and we have the filmmaker in the house, obviously. And so without further ado, the Ito sisters, Antonia Grace Glenn.
Thank you so much for coming. It's wonderful to see such a full house. So we're just going to start the movie, and then afterwards we'll have just a short Q&A, and then we have a little reception that we would like to invite everyone to join us for. So without further ado, please enjoy.
Antonia, would you please come? Don't hide. On behalf of the Berkeley Film Festival, East Bay Media Center would like to present you with this award, the Grand Festival Award in Documentary.
Thank you so much. Everyone at the East Bay Media Center for including us in this wonderful festival, and thank you to everyone for being here, and sorry for a little bit of a technical glitch here, and we want to invite everyone, of course, to join us for a little reception after the film, and we want to thank our reception sponsors, Berkeley Bowl, Safeway, Community Markets, and Trader Joe's. So now I'd like to invite my co-producer and editor, Greg Pacificar. Because my mother's here, and Michael Omi and Jerry Takahashi are both here. So thank you. Maybe we could sort of touch on a couple of themes from the film, and then open up the discussion for questions for maybe 10 minutes. So Mom, just starting with you. Could you maybe talk a little bit about the personalities of these three sisters and our experience interviewing them, and sort of particularly the process of sometimes having to kind of read between the lines when they were relating stories that were often very painful, but in a fairly cheerful manner.
Yes, I was going to say, I think the personalities of the three sisters, does come out in the film, and clearly Nancy was always my grandfather's favorite, and everybody acknowledged that. He took her everywhere, and they also, my grandparents also lived with her, their entire lives. Obviously, and then the two oldest sisters are very close in age. They're 18 months apart. So, so they're very close, but I think not only did my grandfather favor Nancy, and I think it was because my grandmother was, she had been given advice that she should not stay in bed after giving birth. She should just get right up and start working, she fell and then was paralyzed. So then my grandfather had to actually take care of the baby, and I think that led to this very special kind of bonding. And you can also see that Nancy was very popular and was favorite of teachers, and also a lot of men were wooing her. So there was that kind of agreement. And I must say that I at times I was also very much charmed by her. She had this sort of special quality in terms of dealing with people. And in some ways, I guess my mother was the perfect younger sister, in that sense. And then Hetty, as you can see, kind of has a little bit of a chip on her shoulder in terms of her relationship to the sisters, because I think the two older sisters were very close, and she was kind of the baby in the family until she was displaced by Nancy's oldest child. So, and some of that I think comes out in the film. And, you know, to be honest, I never saw them ever cry, despite all of the, you know, things that had gone on in their lives. They just sort of, I guess, had that. I think their parents were very clear about the fact that they just sort of needed to sort of keep on trying and everything. So, yeah, in some ways it was kind of difficult. But I think the fact that they were in their 80s and 90s by the time we talked to them meant that I think they were a little bit more open about talking about these painful incidents that I think they probably did not share with their children. And in fact, I'm kind of wondering, our audience does not contain the children of Hetty and Nancy, and we're going to have a showing in Los Angeles. And so that'll be interesting in terms of how they will respond to the film.
Well, for example, Hetty had never told the story about her secret engagement. She had never told anyone that story before. And her sisters, when during that interview, they're hearing it for the first time, you kind of see their reactions. And I think it was because Hetty was jealous of all the story about Nancy's bows. And so I think she suddenly said, I have a fiance too, which, you know, sort of captured that. Thank you. And Greg, you want to talk a little bit about sort of the weaving together the storytelling elements? Because I would say it was Greg's idea to include the illustrations, and he brought on this amazing artist who created these illustrations for us. So you maybe just want to talk about sort of where that idea
I think when we first started, we watched all the interviews, and I think we talked about the emotional aspect of it. And I think as a filmmaker, we wanted them to shed a tear, capture the emotion for the documentary, but they didn't. So what we're going to do. So we knew that we wanted to be authentic to how they tell their story, because the way they tell their story, that's also their journey. And also, at the same time, we wanted to be authentic to their emotions that they must have felt during this time. So then that's when I think talking back and forth, like how do we do that? How do we capture that? So that way the audience could also feel what it was like for them and their memories. And then I think the illustrations was an idea, like that's how we could capture it. So that it's illustrations, we brought in an illustrator, we also use photography in the animations, and it's an animator as well. We had this idea of using Japanese wood block print. Yeah, so we kept that throughout it. So I think that was just the goal of how we're going to weave in the emotional aspect.
And since we talked about contemporary carols, I have to ask, can you just tell us what happened to you the other day driving back from Arizona to California with your partner?
This is interesting. Yeah, we were driving from Arizona to California. On the California side, we got pulled over, and they asked us directly what our citizenship was.
No pause. They had done
no pause. Yeah.
You weren't even speeding, but they specifically asked, "Are you illegal?"
Yeah.
Because you're
right.
driving while broke.
Yes.
Had to tell that story. So we just want to open up the discussion again. We don't want to keep it short because I know it's a long film, but if we have some questions, yes.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful film. And you can't include everything. So, but I know that currently there is a proposal before the United States Stamp Commission to honor those interned Japanese who volunteered for the Army. Not telling, if they do that, maybe they'll do some broader, but not telling about the no-no boys who answered on those two questions because they all already felt they were loyal and they didn't have to swear loyalty. And so, and again, in here, you don't have time for everything, but you show the person who did volunteer. And there were lots of reasons for people not volunteering in terms of age, women who were disabled and so forth. And there were the no-no boys, I understand, were sent, I think, to Hart Mountain, and there were riots.
Tule Lake.
And there were riots.
Yeah, so part of the reason that our family had to move from Tule Lake to Hart Mountain was because it was becoming a segregated high
Right.
security segregation center, which then, precipitated our Auntie Nancy losing the baby because she was pregnant, 6.5 months pregnant at the time she was put on a train and sent across
Those are
country. So
great.
yeah, the
Great
no-no
fact.
boys, yeah, it's a very rich history. Our first draft was 5.5 hours long. So he told me it was too long, I didn't agree, but
Butt heads on that part.
yeah, there was a lot more in there that he made me figure out. But yes, I certainly agree that there are many wonderful stories, yes. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I thought the use of those news clips was very powerful for exposing the cultural attitudes of the thing. And I'm curious how you did the research to find all that information, which is numerous.
Yeah, the research process was lengthy, and there are certain websites that are very, very useful, like Densho, which is, of course, a wonderful sort of repository of photographs, and just, a lot of time spent on the like LexisNexis, looking for stories, and San Francisco Chronicle being particularly, I think, guilty of a lot of anti-Japanese articles, but, spending time with, looking in the newspaper, just looking for kind of keywords. So, and then there were also certain books, including books by my mother, that are, really very, very helpful in chronicling the history. And, to my mind, our scholars were also invaluable in terms of really, providing, fleshing out the history. So, yeah, so thank you. Oh, yes. Yes, sir? Oh, that's my husband's name, by the way. I've got a question. Do we have any other questions or comments? Yes.
So are the sisters still living, or are they in the Bay Area? Or?
They've all passed away.
Oh.
So, yeah, my grandmother was 98 and passed away in 2014, and Hetty and Nancy both passed away in 2010. So we have lost them. And, we're losing the Nisei generation, very rapidly. So any opportunity, I think, to kind of chronicle their experiences and to have that connection to the Issei, who, I never got to meet my great-grandparents. So being able to hear their stories from the Nisei generation, I think, is really, to me, was very meaningful. So, yes.
I think this has got a number of great lessons for generations to come. Do you have plans for how you will use this documentary, how it will be available?
Yes, we're sort of just starting the distribution process now. We're going to be doing a screening at the Japanese American Museum in San Jose. We haven't scheduled that, but we're going to do one at the Japanese American National Museum in Los Angeles. We're submitting for other festivals. We're going to start talking to possibly public television stations. So we would like as wide, a distribution as possible. And, a lot of PBS stations do show, particularly Asian American documentaries during Asian American History Month in May. So we're going to be ambitious and trying to get it out. And if people have ideas and suggestions, we are more than happy to hear them. Do you have a question?
I was just asking when I asked, and unfortunately the sisters have passed, because the way that you put together the film with the animation and movements to try and capture the feelings of what was going on, and I was going to ask you, did the sisters have a chance to comment or on how that fit? But obviously they can't. Do you have a sense of, well, obviously you would if you put it this way, how real the emotions in the non-photography, non-recorded parts, how that really fit in with how they were really feeling?
Well, I'll turn that over to my mother, but I will say that, we showed a little bit of some of the footage, like very early on, to Nancy and to my grandmother, and Nancy, these are their personalities. Nancy was like, "Oh yeah, I like it." And I said, "What do you think, Grandma?" She's like, "It was embarrassing." Very different reaction. But do you want to talk a little bit about sort of whether we think that this representation is kind of accurate in terms of their?
I think it's very accurate, yeah, in terms of what their, I don't know what you want, their selves. I mean, I think they're very authentic in the films, yeah. Yeah, so I think it's a challenge when your subjects are somewhat
not exactly stoic, but there's another layer that you really have to find underneath their presentation of their story, and I think that's where, to my mind, the illustrations were so useful, is being able to kind of see them as little girls and some of the stories of their marriages, where they often say it in a certain way, but you really sense that there was real pain and real hardship.
I think of the illustration where the two girls were underneath the bed I mean, that is so real.
Right. Yeah, and that's, that story, I love that story, that they thought the thunder was coming it was knocking on the door, so they wouldn't open the door. Did you have a question right over here?
You didn't really say where it all ended up living in Wheatley, where the Ito packing company was.
The Ito Packing Company,
In Wheatley?
I'm sorry, really?
Wheatley.
Oh, yeah, no, that's I think that's a different family. My grandmother ended up living, they moved after the war, they went to Chicago and spent 15 years in Chicago where my mother grew up, and then they moved to Oakland and then Alameda. And then Nancy and her family and Hetty and her family all went to Los Angeles and lived the rest of their lives in Los Angeles. So maybe we can take like one more question.
It was more of a comment. I think what grabbed me the most about the documentary, and also it's a beautiful thing, is that you were able to demonstrate the cycles of loss and pain, but also the generational loss and pain. And it's also showing the resiliency too, just with every big time period, they were able the family was able to recover and restructure, and even though they were uprooted many times. I just thought that was a beautiful thing to watch, but also was very sad too, so.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think, certainly the camp experience was very fragmenting for a lot of families, and, people were displaced, and generationally, I think, particularly in the camps, I've heard that, young people would go and eat with other young people, whereas previously there had been family tables, and so there really was this, division. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that as well, but also the division between the citizens and their parents who were not citizens, who didn't necessarily speak English. I mean, your grandmother never learned to speak English at all, right? So, do you want to talk about that at all?
I think I was a little young at the time, so I didn't observe the kind of social pattern. So I would only learn about it kind of the same way that anybody else would by reading other people's accounts of it. But I don't remember firsthand situations.
Well, thank you again so much. Thank you, everybody.